It's a busy night in Weatherland. We have chilly but dry conditions in the Northeast and into the Mid-Atlantic states, but widespread flood watches are up from Northeast Texas all the way up into Ohio. We have tornado watches up tonight, winter storm warnings in the northern plains and into the northern Great Lakes. And by the way, they've had a really serious ice storm in northern Michigan. Some pretty impressive shots that I saw earlier today. We've got a very busy couple of weather days ahead. A lot of severe weather, potential for big flooding in some areas, but not so much for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. All of that tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And please, if you would, do your Amazon shopping by using our referral link at the top of the chat board or on the descriptor to this podcast because it keeps commercials uh, pretty much off the show. And it's very easy. You use the link and then search and do your shopping. And Amazon just throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there, and it doesn't cost you a cent. And a number of you have done this, and we really appreciate it. And thank you for shopping our referral link on Amazon. So, yeah, I was looking, by the way, going forward. Uh, Over the next several days, there's going to be a lot of severe weather in the Ohio Valley, in the parts of the Ohio and Tennessee Valley, the Mississippi River Valley, and a lot of a lot of areas are going to be getting a big rain out of this. There's some rough, and it's over the course of about 4 or 5 days. It's not just one and done. It's going to be several days of this that those folks are going to be dealing with. And meanwhile, here we're kind of just on the edge of all of it. So in eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, and also here in Georgia, we're we're going to be pretty much on the edge of all of this. So that's good in the sense that we don't have to deal with the serious adverse weather. How were those thunderstorms last night? Because I did see they had a tornado warning up for a little while last night in Monmouth and Middlesex counties in New Jersey. How did it go by you?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it was constant thunder. I would have to say that from about 8 o'clock last night until about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, just over and over and over again, rumbles of thunder, bright flashes of lightning. We did get our fair share of rain. I think we had over an inch, but it was not anything that I would categorize as uh, severe or nothing that we couldn't handle. And yes, when we were watching TV last night, Lee Goldberg on WABC 7 kept breaking in every so often with the latest on that tornado warning that had been posted in portions of New Jersey. I found that interesting because, when we were on last night, it looked like the severe weather, if it were to occur at all, would be taking place mostly south and west of the tri state area. And yet, here we had a tornado warning that popped up during the mid evening hours. I don't know what the final extent of that was in terms of severity or activity or what damage it may have caused. But again, we had our share of showers and thunderstorms. They were rather long lasting. I think part of the reason why we just had thunder and lightning over and over and over again over a 3 hour period, Joe, is that the storms were training in our direction from southwest to northeast and
Right.
across the lower Hudson Valley. But once that moved on out after midnight last night, set the stage for a much nicer, a brighter day out there today. Chillier, yes, and we had some gusty winds early this morning, but all in all, we survived.
Well, that's good. Welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight, and welcome to those of you who are watching in the background on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a big storm around. If we decide to add extra shows, we always let you know about it. And so make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, hit the like button. So the watches and warnings map tonight, Joe, is loaded with all sorts of things. Nothing up and down the East Coast. They actually have a few counties in northeastern New Hampshire that are still under winter weather advisories there. But from Ohio to southern Indiana and Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, into southeast Missouri, uh, Arkansas, into a couple of counties in northeast Texas and southeast Oklahoma, got flood watches up, and they put them up early. They had these up going up yesterday, so they're really trying to front load everything in anticipation, which I think is probably a good idea given what the models are showing. Winter storm warnings are up in Minnesota and in the northern half of Minnesota, parts of South and North Dakota, some places in northeastern Minnesota near the Arrowhead, forecasting 6 to 10 inches of snow there. And we still have winter weather advisories in northern Wisconsin and parts of the upper peninsula as well as the lower peninsula. I saw some videos of Mackinac Bridge and seeing huge chunks of ice falling from the top of the bridge onto the roadway.
Wow.
Yeah, the ice storm there was a pretty serious one.
You know,
Uh,
incidentally, the Minnesota Twins, at one time they played in the Hubert H. Humphrey Dome, which the dome collapsed some years ago, and so they're now playing in a ballpark that is not, covered, so to speak. And I was just wondering whether or not they had a game tonight scheduled or the next couple of nights in Minnesota. They are not. They're in Chicago, but playing the White Sox. But it can't be all that great in Chicago either. I mean, they don't have the same type of conditions that Minnesota would have, but the weather out in the Midwest is probably not all that great in terms of playing baseball. And yeah, it's I'm looking, Joe, at the map you have posted here with the flash flood watch. There are going to be some places in that green area that extends from the Ohio Valley south and west down into the Tennessee and Mississippi River Valley. There are going to be some places that are going to have on the order of 8 to 10 or maybe even up to 12 inches of rain. Not thankfully, if you want to look for a bright spot here, it ain't going to come all at once as you would have it, let's say, in a hurricane, but it's going to be spread out over several days. But still, a foot of
that's a
water,
lot of water.
that's too much water, for
Right.
God's sake.
That's a lot of water, and I don't think they have any. I don't think they're in any kind of drought issue over there. So, yeah, it's and they're probably going to get it. They may not get it all at once, but as they get into severe weather each day, when it fires up, it's going to be in a maybe a 6 to 8 hour time frame where they put down like somebody puts down 3 or 4 inches, and then do that 3 days in a row or 4 days in a row, uh, you're gonna have flooding problems with that.
Absolutely, absolutely, just terrible,
Yeah,
terrible situation.
tornado watches are up tonight. Parts of north central Texas into central Oklahoma. We've got high wind warnings and wind advisories. Well, we got wind advisories in the Ohio and Tennessee Valley down to the Gulf Coast already. We have wind advisories also in parts of New Mexico and Arizona. We have wind advisories in Southern California, and we've got the usual daily peppering of winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, and avalanche warnings in the central and northern Rockies, and winter storm warnings in the Sierra Nevadas and some of the mountains in northwestern California, with a few advisories in southern Oregon. And you can already see on the satellite loop tonight, I mean, beautiful clear skies. After the clouds rolled out early today, it went mostly sunny up and down the eastern seaboard. And over the Great Lakes and points west, you can already see all that Pacific energy that came in yesterday. And if you look off the coast, the west coast, you can see there's still a rotation there. So there's, you know, the first system is now playing through the northern plains and moving into the western Great Lakes and starting to pull up moisture out of the Gulf and shooting it northward through East Texas and into Oklahoma. But there are subsequent rotations and short waves coming into California that are going to continue to play through for the rest of the week and into the weekend.
It's going to be very active from coast to coast. And as I mentioned last night, for those of you who have something planned locally in the tri-state area for this weekend, if you have anything planned outdoors, you might want to consider doing it very early on Saturday, because I think once we get past midday Saturday, through the rest of the day, Saturday night, and on through all of Sunday, it looks just plain cloudy, dank, dreary, and wet. Um, I'm not looking at something that's going to dump, an excessive amount of rainfall, but it's going to be kind of a depressing weekend. We're going to get one bit of a break between the showers and storms we expect on Thursday with the next cold front and the next round of adverse weather coming in over the weekend. Friday looks like a day where I think we'll see some breakout into some sunshine and drier weather. That's good also. The Mets have opening day at Citi Field on Friday, so it looks like I would say right now the game will be played. The game may even be played under some sunshine. So enjoy it while it lasts because, again, moving into the first weekend of April, and for the rest of the country, again, as you mentioned, Joe, all kinds of problems out in the west, atmospheric rivers there in the central part of the nation, showers and thunderstorms, excessive amounts of rain, flooding. Is there anything good I could say about the weather pattern over the next week, other than the fact that we have one bright spot, the bright spot being Friday when we may get a little bit of sunshine here in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's spring, and I've always said spring is the worst season of the year. I've never liked it. It's especially living on Long Island, where you had to always deal with Mr. Seabreeze on a daily basis. And you hear about people getting up to 80 degrees, and you're sitting in the 40s. Radars are quiet, pretty much up and down the eastern seaboard, except for a few stray showers off the coast of North Florida and a couple of showers in the interior, but they're few and far between. Meanwhile, with the storm system in the northern plains, you can see the moisture that's lifting up through Wisconsin and Minnesota, and there's actually an east-west band of some heavy precip now in southern Minnesota. So when that gets up further north into the cold air, where we have the winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories up, that's where you're probably going to see some bands of moderate to heavy snow that will break out. Also, starting to see the beginnings of some thunderstorms that are developing in parts of northern Oklahoma, and also starting to see some action aloft. Most of what's going to happen with respect to severe weather in the tonight is going to be in the overnight period into tomorrow morning, as opposed to having happened during the day today. We've got patches of snow in the Rockies, in the west, mountain snows, valley rains, as all this Pacific energy comes on in. Now, the Storm Prediction Center tonight has a fairly large area of enhanced risk. We have that one working tornado watch that you see there in the red box, and the enhanced risk is covering Oklahoma, eastern Kansas, western Missouri, and inside that is a 10% patched area tornado risk, which means that there is the possibility that we could see some EF2 to EF5 tornadoes in that zone. And tomorrow it gets worse. SPC has now added a moderate risk of severe weather in eastern Arkansas, southeast Missouri, northwest Minnesota, western Tennessee, western Kentucky, southern Indiana, and southern Illinois, and a big area of enhanced risk that covers North Texas and Oklahoma and swings all the way up into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio and southern Michigan, and it does include Chicago in all of this. St. Louis is right on that enhanced risk line. Memphis is in the moderate risk. Nashville is in the enhanced risk. And yeah, it's going to be a very interesting day. And the tornado risk tomorrow is up to 15%. And you might, if you're
That's
not
about as
familiar.
high as you'll ever. That's about as high as you'll see it. Ever see a forecast for tornadoes?
We had it a couple of weeks ago. We had the high risk area. They had it at 30%. So and I've seen 45. There was one instance last year. I remember that they had 45
But was
percent.
that but was that forecast for the actual day of the event?
Yes, on the actual day, not in the long
Yeah,
range. This is another.
right.
This is another day two. You don't see them do this very often, where they put the moderate risk in on the day two forecast, but they did. And I think on that one, maybe on that day they put the high risk on the date. No, Joe, I remember now a couple of weeks ago, and the outbreak was in the similar area here. Uh, they put the high risk up in the day two forecast, which has only happened like two or three other times. But
Right.
15%'s not shabby. That, somebody will look and
No.
say, "Oh, that 15% means there's an 85% chance that there won't be one." Well, that's not exactly how, it's 15% chance for every 25-mile point inside that hatch zone. And when we're talking about a really small scale event where a tornado, might only be several hundred yards wide, 15% is not a low number.
No, not by any means. You know, you get anything. Normally with a tornado scenario, you'll see locally, especially 2%, and for us, if we go up to like 5%, that's something of some significance. And rarely do we ever see a 10% in our area. It depends also again upon the geographic region. I don't think, for example, that you would ever see in this part of the country unless it's about to happen a 45% probability of tornadic activity. But it depends upon the situation. It depends upon how far out you're predicting. Um, but no, 10%, 15% certainly are probabilities you would not want to sneeze at, so to speak.
Now, on day three, and this we're going to have to probably see. I'm going to be curious. So we'll see if they add an enhanced risk. I think they will, but we'll see if they do it tomorrow. But they have a large area of slight risk from northeast Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas across northern Mississippi, and central Tennessee, all of Kentucky, southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana. And by the way, that matches up, well with the where they have flood watches up. They also have extended. They've got a marginal risk into northern New Jersey to about Route 78. So from there south, they have a marginal risk of severe weather for Thursday, and that's going to be with the cold front. That's good. Now, this next cold front, Joe, unlike it's not a north-south front moving east, it's more of an east-northeast, west-southwest type of front orientation that's going to be dropping southeastward.
Yes, yes, it's not going to be as you just pointed out, it's not going to be the same as what we encountered, let's say yesterday or last night. But still, as the late Tex Antoine would say, a front is a front, and it does carry with it a certain amount of uh, unsettled conditions and something that we need to be aware of, and we'll be at the mercy of that particular front this weekend. Again, it's going to be a rather slow. The orientation, as you pointed out, and also the relative slow movement relative to our area, is what's going to hold a lot of the cloud and wet weather in here for not just Saturday, but also for Sunday as well.
And the SPC folks on day four, and they've been carrying this through in the long range, doesn't want to stay still. But on day four, we're seeing a implied slight risk from central Texas to northeast Texas, northeastward into Kentucky, Tennessee, southern Illinois, southern Indiana. And again, this will be 3 days in a row where the same area for the most part is dealing with all of this. And on day five, we have another area of applied slight risk from East Texas nosing up into Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana and Arkansas. So this day five, by the way, is Saturday into Sunday. So this it takes us right into Sunday morning. This is going to be a very long duration event, and WPC still has that 10-inch plus area of rainfall from northeastern Arkansas, northwest Tennessee, southeast Missouri, just kind of skimming southern Illinois and southern Indiana and uh, portions of western Kentucky. But the larger 7 to 10 inch area goes all the way up into Ohio and all the way down south into northeast Texas and eastern Oklahoma. I mean, there's a lot of, it's severe weather, it's tornadoes, it's a lot of water. I guess the one upside may be that by the time we get to day 3 and 4, if there's been so much rain that has fallen, it probably cuts down on daytime heating and instability to an extent where you're not dealing with tornadic activity, but that doesn't necessarily mean you won't be dealing with um, a lot of rain.
And believe me, we have been talking just over the last we've been on the air now for about 25 minutes. That's all seemingly what we've been talking about is a lot of rain, and again, especially in that area of the Mississippi and Tennessee River Valley, over the next 5 to 6, 7 days, we're going to be looking at an enormous amount of rain and a lot of flooding problems. So, what more can you possibly say? It's funny, Joe. Thinking about one of the things we're going to be talking about in our recording on the Legends program that we're now associated with is red flag warnings and dry conditions, abnormally dry conditions. Well, if anything, the pattern that we're into right now is anything but abnormally dry, and I don't think you're going to see very many red flag warnings raised over the next week or 10 days.
By the way, I thought I'd take a look at what WPC on their excessive rainfall. They have a slight risk into tomorrow morning in northwestern Missouri and northeastern Kansas. Tomorrow, they've got a moderate risk, and it matches up, by the way. That's pretty much where the moderate risk of severe weather is indicated. The same area is also under a moderate risk of flash flooding, which is a 40 to 70% chance for flash flooding. The slight risk, northeastern Texas, all the way up into Michigan and into Ohio. And then when we look at day 3, a high risk is being indicated by WPC, a high risk, which is at 70% or higher probability in western Kentucky, northwestern Tennessee. You don't see the high risk too often. Sometimes you
No,
see you see high risk. You'll see it in hurricanes sometimes, depending on how they behave when they go inland. But this is again, this is potentially a fairly serious situation for the lower Ohio and Tennessee Valley.
absolutely. As if they have not had enough already. I mean, we have already seen in the past, 4 to 6 weeks, any number of severe weather outbreaks in that general area. And people, people there are probably wondering, when is this all going to come to an end?
Yeah, right.
Enough
So,
already.
just checking out the models tonight. Um, you see, all the action in the West. We have a 984 low in western Kansas, and of course, the southerly winds are blowing to the east of that. The gradient is tied all the way to the Mississippi River and even a little bit east of there. Big high up in eastern Canada has cooled things down in the northeast and into the mid-Atlantic states, and even here. Well, I did get into the 70s today. Right now, we've only dropped back to 67. So this low runs up into northwest Iowa. You can see the darker blue heavy snows that are being indicated. It's a really fairly wrapped up low, so you're going to get thunderstorms that'll develop tonight on along the cold front, which runs south from the low down into East Texas, and then you start to see that push into further east, and then it just goes crazy with the rainfall here that gets generated tomorrow afternoon in thunderstorms that develop in Tennessee and Kentucky and up into Ohio. You've got actually a little bit of snow and ice being indicated for parts of. Well, now I know why they put the winter weather advisory up for northern New Hampshire, because there's a warm front that's coming. It's another warm front, Joe, and that probably means clouds. Did you put in the chance that there could be maybe a couple of showers with this when it goes by
For when now?
for late tomorrow night?
Yes, excuse me. I had mentioned on my Facebook forecast uh, a chance for showers developing toward nightfall. I was kind of ambiguous a little bit there, but yeah, I would not be surprised if by, let's say, 5, 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, that there were showers already breaking out ahead of this system into the lower Hudson Valley and parts of the tri-state area.
Yeah, GFS says actually even has freezing rain in the Hudson Valley. certainly north of Route 84. That pink area extends pretty far south. It's probably overdone, but you can see it. It does actually extend back up into northern Michigan. So these poor folks who just went through a big icing event are probably going to see a bit more of this come tomorrow as that low moves northeastward. And then, of course, we get back into the warm air, but you can kind of see how the front is set up here. It's more northeast southwest, and we're gonna warm up Thursday. I think you're gonna see temperatures at least in the 70s, depending on how much sun you get. And then as the front starts to sink southward, more big rains develop Thursday night in the Ohio and Tennessee Valley. And of course, the front pushing eastward, might set off a thunderstorm or two when it goes by. But I think the best chances of that are probably going to be, south of New York City. And yeah, some improvement Friday, but here comes another low that's going to develop. And look at that. Look at that rain now. After everything that's happened, 2 days of big rains on the GFS, and now we got a third day. And the European's no different. I mean, that is, I'm going to pull up the model because this low for Friday and the Saturday is just loaded with moisture here. And then that just kind of finally pivots eastward through the Gulf states and through the Northeast before it turns much chillier for next week. I think we talked about that yesterday. I think that's going to pretty well verify that after this week we're going to get into a fairly chilly pattern and a let's call it a more quiet pattern with respect to severe weather. There should be far less of it.
Yes, once we get rid of all of the wet weather over the weekend, we will dry out on Monday. The winds are going to be picking up too. There'll be a strong and gusty northwesterly wind developing beginning later Sunday and continuing into Monday, and that's going to drive in with cold air advection, a much chillier air mass. And in fact, Joe, I agree with you. By Monday and especially Tuesday and beyond, we're going to be looking at a stretch of below normal temperatures here in the northeastern United States. But again, it's going to be chilly or cold, but also dry. If you're a snow lover and are hoping to get some kind of a wet weather system to interact with the cold air and maybe bring you a late season snowfall, that does not, right at the moment, look like it's in the cards.
And up on the screen is the GFS forecast rainfall through the weekend. And the yellow areas you see here are at least 12 inches of rain for the areas in southeast Missouri, western Tennessee, and western Kentucky. So let's hope that it doesn't verify. For laughs, let's look at the European and see what that does. A little, it's not oriented in the same geographic areas. The Europeans got it, maybe looks more like what you would see in a convective case, but it does have areas of 1 foot plus rains. But on the European, there's one area that's further south into southeast Oklahoma and southwest Arkansas. And then you got patches that go up further north into southeast Missouri, western Tennessee, western Kentucky. So both models are pretty much saying the same thing here. There's going to be a really big rainfall that we're going to see in this area. And in the Northeast, some heavier rain amounts in upstate New York and points west near the coast. It's more like half an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch to at most an inch being indicated. So it's not overly wet along the coastal plain, but just inland of the coastal plain the rainfall seems to be a bit more substantial.
And adding to that, on the chat board, Jason Fox mentioning that he heard one place in Arkansas was 400% plus of normal. 400%
Of
plus
rainfall already?
of rainfall.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're gonna flood quickly. They're gonna flood very quickly. So do you
Crazy.
have you have Briller Jeopardy tonight, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Let me just get it up here for everybody. Da, 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 cha, cha, cha. Oh, I know what happened. Scott has been sending me the questions, but but I'm in a different place than I
Correct.
usually. And in fact, Renata wanted to know. Let me just get it up here for a second. Come on, come on. Yeah, she said to me last night. Said, "Who's Sandy Briller?"
Yeah.
But all right. So on this Briller Jeopardy, average high temperatures in April, and it is April now. It is April the 1st. Anybody try and play an April Fool's joke on you today, Joe?
No.
No. Okay. All
No.
right. All right. All right. So the average high temperatures for the following places in April, starting with Baltimore. Average high temperature in April, Joe.
Uh, let's see. Um, I'll say I'll say 64.
Oh, well, that was a good guess, but you're not even in snake country with that. You had to go a little bit higher.
Like
Uh,
Frank R at 66.
Vincent Croce at 64, Frank R 66. 66 is definitely in snake country.
Lapointe is at 67. Steve Lapointe.
Lapointe, Lapointe gets
La
it.
Croix.
There you
Lapointe.
go. There you go. Yeah, how about Boston?
Boston. All right. Let's see. I'll say because they still have Mr. Seabreeze to deal with. 58.
Close. A little bit on the high side. Latex Dream says 55, which is in snake country, and Howard A is in snake country with 57. So what does that mean, Joe?
It means that it's 56.
56 degrees, and Tyler Fenga got that. 56 in Boston. Congratulations to you, Tyler, on that. And so did Vincent Croce as well, and Brady G111. How about, let's move a little further to the south. How about Charlotte, North Carolina?
Oh, let's see.
Thank you, Tyler. There's your bell ring.
I'm sorry. What did I say for what was Baltimore's?
67.
67. For Charlotte, I'll say 75.
Joe, you're within striking distance, but again, you're just a little
A
off
little
already.
off.
A little off, a little off, a little on the high side.
Okay.
Uh,
Chuck Cardillo's at 73.
and Chuck, this one's for you. You got it. 73 for Charlotte. Let's go back north a ways to Hartford.
Hartford. Hartford. Uh, okay. All right. What did we say for Boston?
56. But remember, you also said for Boston, well, they're near the water.
Right. Okay. 56. New York is 61. I'll say 60.
Snake country for you, Joe.
Well, finally.
Rich Rothmansky had 60 as well. Chuck Cardillo is at 60. But Northern Grace, who misspelled Hartford, but still, Northern Grace gets it with 61 degrees. And our number 5 city tonight is not even a city, but it's a place. Central Park, New York City. Central Park.
Oh, New York City. Uh, I'll say 62. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
Ding, 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 ding. And here's the bonus. Here's your bonus question tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Virginia Beach.
Oh God. Jesus, guys. What did we
Now,
say?
now,
What did we say for Charlotte?
73.
73. And what did we say for Baltimore?
We said 67.
67. And Virginia Beach is near the water.
Why don't you take an
Clearly.
average of Baltimore and
Well,
Charlotte,
let's
Joe?
try that. Okay, so I'm sorry. So what is what were the numbers again?
67
70,
and 73.
67 and 73. So that would put the average at 70.
Yes.
I'll not. I'll knock it down one and go 69.
You should have gone with the average, Joe. I gave
Oh,
it to you.
I'm sorry. So
Jason Fox.
Mike Waterhouse Bonsai got it at 70.
Jason Fox and Mike Waterhouse Bonsai and Tyler Fenga and Maggie P. You were listening to me, and so does Latex Dreams. I gave him the biggest hint of all. I
Well,
said take the
Joe,
average of Baltimore 67 and
I have
Charlotte.
issues. I have issues with authority and people telling me
Oh,
what I should do or shouldn't do. So
I'm going to tell Sister Charles Edwards on you if you have problems with authority. It's
now we'll have none of that. Oh God. I wish I could find a picture of her, but I scoured the internet. She was nowhere to
oh,
be found.
Sister Charles Edwards, St. Benedict's Parish. Yeah.
Many lookalikes. Oh, let me see. I didn't try that. Let's see. Let's see if it comes up.
What?
I
St. Benedict's Parish in the Bronx.
no, Sister Charles. I know
Yes.
Charles Edwards, Saint
Wouldn't it be
Benedict's.
funny? Wouldn't it be funny if Mrs. Bundy's picture came up instead?
um. Okay. There's. Yes, I did mean that. Okay. Um. Hold on. Let me see if under images, what do we got? Uh. No, I don't see. I mean, I would think that I mean, obviously she left this earth a long time ago,
Yes.
but I'm not seeing, no, there's just like recent pictures of nuns, some of them not even in habits.
Yeah.
What what was the order? Was it the orders of Saint Benedict that were there? The missionary sisters?
I don't think they were missionary sisters.
Or were they Dominican? No, no, but I mean the order would be called the Missionary Sisters of Saint Benedict. That's an actual order. Were they Dominicans?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Um, oh, Sisters of Charity.
Joe, you're asking me a question about a nun who's like or a parish I hadn't been
I mean,
to.
I had Dominicans. I went to St. Philip and James in the Bronx, so I had Dominicans.
Right.
You know, but well, you have
Vincent,
Sister Char
Vincent Croce says she still could be collecting Social Security at 130 years
Well,
old.
that's quite possible. Right there with her would be Sister Germaine, which is what that's you had Sister Charles Edwards, I had Sister Germaine, and they they kind of look like their names would think you would think they would look. So, and they both probably fought in Golden Gloves.
Incidentally, we often mention his name, Douglas Edwards,
Douglas
who was
Edwards, CBS News. Well, that was always, Sister Charles
he
Edwards,
was
nun by day, newscaster by night.
he was one of the Murrow boys with CBS, and he retired on this day in 1988, and sadly he passed away just 2 years later at the age of 72. So
Yeah. Well, we're not planning to do that. We're planning to be here tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m.
yes,
Okay, so no
we'll be
plans
here to
on.
tell you we'll be here to tell you all of the new facts about how wet it's going to be across much of the central part of the nation, the showers, the thunderstorms, and the semi dreary, miserable weekend that's ahead of us here in the Northeast.
That's
Oh,
correct.
Harold Olson said he graduated from Murrow High School in 1991. Harold, I wonder if Edward R. Murrow High School, that's in Brooklyn, and they had a planetarium there. And if you went to the planetarium, the guy who ran it was the best man at my wedding, Sam Storch. I don't know if you remember Sam, but I never saw a show there. But anyway, just off the cuff
Mr.
comment,
Storch, he says. I guess
Mr.
he
Storch.
knew Mr.
Yes,
Storch.
yes.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody tomorrow night at 7:35. Night, night.
Good night, folks.